Beautiful day, Patriots. How are you? Pig and I are sitting here just enjoying the 4th of July, working on our hammock. It's coming along really nice. And we're listening to what most people that are watch my videos now watch Pastor Paul Begley and also counciloftime.com. That's Mike from around the world. And Mike from around the world has always got so much great information. And I listen to Mike, his shows on loops. I listen to his shows a lot. And it keeps my head in the Bible. It teaches me all kinds of things. And once again, it keeps my head on Jesus. Very appreciative of his time and his website. And Pastor Paul Begley. I appreciate them both greatly. So what I was doing is that I was listening to Pastor Paul Begley's last show where Mike was and him were talking a lot about the word crustal displacement. And they were talking about the map. This map, I remember seeing this map early 80s, probably not too many years after it came out. But John Moore had been showing and sharing this map for decades. And as we're experiencing this, what is it, global warming, or is it just global, cycles? And so let's talk about global displacement. Many people might not know what that means. And let's think of this as, well, let's see if we can pick this, sit down for a second. Let's look at this hammock and think of this as kind of like the earth right now. And as the earth it's not flat or round. It's got all kinds of different, valleys and mountains and, bottoms and creeks and all kinds of different things, right? And what happens is that what crustal displacement means is, let's say a bunch of water comes in here and then fills up this valley. Well, that's a lot of weight. And if all that water can't go out a creek or a stream or something like that, that water collects and becomes a lake. And then that lake becomes very, very heavy. And over time, that weight becomes and makes things kind of resettle. Now, it changes everything. And what can happen is that, of course, earthquakes happen like this. But when a certain weight becomes on a certain place, it releases weight from other places. So let's use this now as, say, the glaciers. Yeah? If a glacier loses a bunch of its weight and melts and goes into the ocean, there's no more weight up here where the glaciers were. That weight is now being dispersed in the ocean. Or vice versa. What would happen if there's a big, huge, gigantic lake that's filled and filled and filled with water? But then that water, here we go, Lake Mead. Lake Mead is filled with all this water. It's been compressed down for 50, 60 years of water compressing down. I'm only using this as an example. But now all that water is evaporating and evaporating and evaporating. Well, the weight is becoming less, and then the ground has a chance to then come back to its original or pop and snap at a different place around the edges. These are just examples of how crustal displacement may work. There's a big spot up in where John Moore talks about how this effect could possibly be one of the first ones that we see, is up in the Great Lakes area. With all of the water leaving the Great Lake area, that's what he says that is a possibility of a crustal displacement, which means the weight of the lake is leaving, which then puts the weight on a different spot and then pops, which then would crack open the Missouri the Mississippi River, which then would cause all kinds of, because it wouldn't be just a one event. Yes, it would be multiple for that map to have happened, correct? But this is what crustal displacement means. It means the weight of a certain area on a section of land is being either compressed or released so that the other edge snaps and does the opposite. Crustal displacement. Kind of like what we're having in the atmosphere, which they talk about right now, what Mike from around the world, the compression pushing down on our atmosphere, pushing the clouds down lower, which has less room for the ions to work, which we're used to, which causes bigger thunderclouds and more severe lightning, like they just experienced up in Canada. And it's kind of like that same kind of theory of just more pressure being pushed down on our environment. Let's go with that. And it is coming from every direction, multiple directions. I'm not here to try to scientifically explain all these things. I'm just trying to point out what these words mean. So when you hear them again in counciloftime.com and Paul Begley, you're more familiar with what's the science behind it. God bless you, Patriots. Have a safe 4th of July. God bless you. God bless America. God bless me and Piggy.